And if being 10-time Mr. Olympia would take away from me being dad, fuck 10 times Mr. Olympia.
Does that thought at all cross your mind to want to run in the open, or no? That's not even a thought you ever think about.
So, Chris, seeing what like a lot of these ex-Mr. Olympias, like health-wise, have to deal with after, like Ronnie Coleman's back. Like I feel, because I followed his whole career. I felt really bad because, I saw him like in a wheelchair and his back was messed up, to Arnold and his heart and all, and a bunch of other athletes. But does that scare you at all the strain that you're putting on your body now? I know because you spoke about this before on podcasts that you have an autoimmune disease with your kidneys, correct? And now that you have, that's one question. And then now, I mean, we just mentioned that you have a kid. Congratulations coming.
Thank you.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl yet?
I do, but my wife, I'm not allowed to say.
When I'm going to say it. But and like, is it worth it, Chris? Because I don't know how many more you want to keep going for. You know it's stressful. You know it's tolling on your body. You know what the future, if you keep going, holds. Is it still worth it? Because I mean, right now you could comfortably stop with your businesses, with your name. You're crushing it, and good for you. Is it worth it that now you could leave comfortable, or are you going to just keep going because that's your dream, that's your vision, and that's what you want to do?
I mean, it's definitely a consistent question I ask myself every year, and I've been very verbal that I take it one year at a time. There's going to be a moment where I don't want to. And when you were asking me initially, what was that initial like flip where I started to go all in on bodybuilding? And initially it was 2017 when I came second in Olympia, but then it was 2018 when I got sick and I found out I have an autoimmune disease, and I was in the hospital for like a week in the middle of prep, and I came out of that and I didn't know if I'd be able to compete again. I didn't know if it would be my last year competing. I didn't know what was going to happen. And that's when like I really was like, fuck, like my health could be an issue here. And luckily it was unrelated to bodybuilding. It's something that I had prior to me, what I was born with. It had hit me when I was young and I didn't know what it was. But coming out of that, I was like, fuck, like I could have lost it all right now. This is serious. Not only am I grateful that I still have the opportunity to do this and I'm on borrowed time, so I better give it my all, but I better be a lot more cautious of my health. So I started to do a lot more blood work, a lot more check-ins with my doctors, a lot more started reducing the amount of drugs I would take because I knew I could push my work harder rather than just drugs. Focus on what I ate, my inflammation, all these little things. And it's something I focused on. And it's also something where I knew I wouldn't have a 10, 15-year career. As much as I would love to keep going, because I know I could keep getting better and do this for 10 Olympias or so, it's not my dream. It's
not your dream.
To have 10 or plus?
Yeah.
No. I've always told people it won't be forever. I still don't know how many it's going to be. Right now, I've been getting healthier over the years, not getting worse. So that's a huge sign for me that I'm still going in the right direction. My physique is still getting better. I know I still have more in me. So I still take time after the Olympia. I do my blood work. I do my check-in. And I just kind of check in with myself, see how motivated I am to keep pushing and how my health is doing. And then I make my decision, am I going to do another one?
Why do it? Why keep doing it, though? Because the more you do it, are you getting more sponsorship money, and are you seeing money coming from elsewhere increasing? Is there a correlation with you more winning and more income and revenue coming in, or not yet?
I think in the first 3 to 4, there definitely was, and whether or not that was also just time, increasing at the same time. But now we actually just had this question asked to us the other day, if we thought that me winning the Olympia has a big spike on the business. And our answer was no. We've established the business to be bigger than myself now, which was always the goal. And I don't think it is anymore. And I obviously don't compete for the $50,000 check
That's exactly
at the end
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
year.
So
And the reason I've never really pushed into caring about that check is because it's never why I've done it. And even if it was $400,000, I don't want $400,000. My goals monetarily are bigger than that. My businesses are always wanted to be bigger than that. I've never competed for that. When I compete, it's for the legacy that I can build, that I'm proud of. It's for the challenges that I know. When you push yourself through something very difficult, that's how you learn about your true self. You uncover new levels that you can reach, new parts of yourself you didn't know about. And then when I'm at shows and I have moments of, after my speech that I can give talking about hardships I've gone through, when people can relate to me talking about the stressful moment to me losing a bunch of weight, tearing my lat, wanting to quit, all these things and not quitting. I have kids from 12 years old up to 30s or 40s coming up to me, and these kids could write me a letter and they'll do something very personal, like this is for Christopher, not C-Bum, because they know I don't like C-Bum's not me, I'm Christopher. I've always stayed true to myself, and they'll be crying, tell me about how I've helped them and how my journey and my stories motivate them. And that was never my intention, but just by going through this, I know I'm helping these people push themselves and try and create better versions of themselves as well. So while it's increasing me to be a better person, it's making people around me a better person, that's really what drives me consistently to keep doing this, and what I love so much about bodybuilding and, the journey and the suffering that you go through to excel yourself as a man so much more than a bodybuilder. That's really what drives me now. And like I said, I think I have I could probably win 10 Olympias if I wanted to, but I'm going to pull earlier than that because of these reasons. What's worth it? What's a bigger regret I'm going to have in the future? Having 10 Olympias or being sick? You know, I love the fact that I'm the champ right now and what comes with that. But what drives me more is truly being the best man I can be and knowing that will lead to me being the best father I can be. And that was I've always been verbal about that. The number one thing I've always wanted to be in my life was a dad. And if being 10-time Mr. Olympia would take away from me being dad, fuck 10 times Mr. Olympia. That's not what I care about.
That's kind of what I figured. But does that ever cross your mind where you're like, if there's no difference between 5, 6, 7, 8, the only thing that matters is 9. And even some of the people they're going to say, well, you've never won an Open anyways. It's not like it's this. You've never won an Open. You know, yeah, if you came up and you won an Open, then you would shock the hell out of the industry if you went that route. Now you're really talking if you do that because now you're a 5-timer and you're leveled up. So now you become a different story of, you know, he's a middleweight champion, and he moved up to lightweight champion, and then he moved up to light heavyweight champion. You know, you're kind of going through that part. You know, does that at all cross your mind?
It's crossed my mind for years, honestly. And
stepping away, because it's either 9 or no other number really matters.
Yeah, and that's what it's been for myself for the last couple of years, and I know that. And this year, in the midst of my prep, when I was going through all that shit, for a moment, I have a therapist, and I remember talking to her, and she told me this after. I was like, I don't know if I can even get through this one. Wow. I felt so shitty. I was so down on myself. I was like, I literally don't even know if I can get through this one, if this is even worth it right now, because I was just in a low spot. And she was like, you know what? If you step away, you know your family, your wife, everyone close to you will love you the same. Nothing will change other than the amount of trophies you have on your shelf. And you've always said that's not what you care about. And I really understood that. And that relieved a lot of pressure from myself. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not going to quit. You know, I'm still not going to give up on myself right now. It's not going to be in this low moment that I choose to quit. I'm going to push through this. And as I did, I was like, the relief of that pressure of knowing I don't need to win for anything right now, but I'm choosing to purely for myself.
Big mindset.
Huge difference. Yep. You know, and the fact that I got through that and discovered that on my own, I was like, fuck yeah, I can keep going, and I'm going to kill this 5th Olympia, and no one's going to even talk about someone coming second to me.
But on this topic, just because I want to get my question answered, or maybe, you know where you're at. Do you feel like, so you're committed to doing your 6? You're going to go back for your 6 this year.
I don't make that decision and this is why I've said this every year, so people know I'm not bullshitting. I don't make that decision until I'm ready to start ramping up again.
Okay, got it.
You know, I haven't been training for a few weeks now, and I'm just enjoying the 5th.
Are you interested? Is there like a next impossible thing for you to do? You know what I'm saying? Is there the next thing where you kind of need the next challenge? Do you think about that, or no? It's just routine. Is there a next challenge where it's like, you know, babe, what I'm thinking about, what if we decide to shock the world this year? And what's that? What do you think about if we made a run to go do XYZ? Does that thought at all cross your mind to want to run in the open, or no? That's not even a thought you ever think about.
It's definitely crossed my mind. And I've joked about it, and people always ask me about it. But, I mean, to go back to when I started, I almost retired when I turned pro because I didn't want to be an open bodybuilder. At 6'1", I'd have to be 300 pounds. You're tall. Right. You discovered that when you were trying to compete, too.
Yeah. That's when I stepped away, by the way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's tough. So then when Classic Physique came out, I was like, here's my chance to keep going. Let's go all in on this. And when I talk about how my health has been progressing, it's because of all the little things I've taken away from and added and changed to focus on that outside of just being huge. And I think to go in the open, I would have to mitigate those things that I've put in for my health checks, and I'm not willing to risk that. So if I ever competed, it would be a similar look to these pictures how I look now, but maybe a little bit fuller, less lean, just so I was a little bit heavier. But I wouldn't want to push myself to that. And I also don't like the idea of competing to not be as competitive as possible. So it'd be hard for me to go in the open knowing I could be doing more to be more competitive and not doing it.
Yeah.
So that's challenging for me. So it's on my mind. Would it be fun? Absolutely. But it's not really in the cards right now.
I'd buy a whole cow at a time. So I had like 2 freezers in my house. At the time, I was eating probably 4 pounds of meat a day, and a lot of it was red meat. But I'd buy 150 pounds of chicken at a time. I'd buy 30 dozen eggs, so I'd buy a whole case of eggs, and that would be my whole refrigerator. And that's how dedicated I was. And I'd sit outside, and I'd cook all my chicken breasts and my steak and stuff like that on the barbecue grill, and I'd put it on plates, and I'd put it in my refrigerator, and I'd pick as the days went on.